Bam. Ohayou gozaimasu. Music's a little loud. So let's do this. That's probably fine. Volume check. Okay, that's probably fine. Yeah, probably good enough. Alright. Microphone. Okay, the stream will be delayed about 20 seconds. Alright, well, to all the people here, hello. Today I'm going to be making a design document for a game, or, well, at least starting it, because, I don't know, I've been thinking about this game for a little bit, and it's at least vaguely related to Library of Ruina stuff, so figured, why not? Let's do a stream. Yeah, so basically what I'm going to be doing is figuring out some of the stuff. So basic gameplay, world design, and yeah, maybe I will get some advice, maybe not. I doubt many people would be here anyways, but okay, maybe someone will show up and have some good advice. So with that out of the way, we can get started with this super amazing slideshow that I made. Jeez. I'm your favorite card game twink. That's thank you, I guess. Although that I feel like that might be like a bit like hyper specific, and so it might not actually mean that much, but I appreciate it nonetheless. So for this game, my initial concept was something kind of like Slay the Spire and Library of Ruina, where you would have your character and you'd go through various battles. This is a really bad mock-up. Hello, James. Oh, what the heck has happened? Okay, there we go. So this is like a really bad mock-up of what I was thinking. And so basically, instead of like how in Library of Ruina, you'd have a bunch of enemies casting their pages with like 2 to 3 dice, you'd have a single enemy that would have a single dice queue that has a bunch of different dice on it. And then instead of lining up your pages against it, your pages would all have their own dice that you'd play and have them get added to your own dice queue, so that you'd have another really long dice queue, and then all of your dice would clash into the opponent's dice. That's the basic thought of it. And then, of course, you'd have other things like page draw, light regen, power boosting effects, damage boosting effects, other status effects. And yeah, that's the basic concept of it. And so with that, we can move on briefly to our deck building section. So I just ripped some pages from Library of Ruina here, because this was initially a pitch. Like an auto battler. What is happening? What is happening? It would be like in Spire. If you've ever played Defect, and how you'd have the zero cost build with like All for One and Claw and Beam Cell and FTL, etc. You'd have a bunch of pages, and then you'd kind of build up a really big combo, and then they'd all clash into each other. Your dice, as if they're like, as if you're clashing a like a 15 card page into another 15 card page kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah, so is any of this relevant to show? Not really. Okay, we can move on. Okay. And so now we can just go on to the boring part, where I just think and type stuff. This here, okay. And so we can start with the gameplay. I'm just gonna set everything back to Arial. Section. Thank you, James. Yeah, this part is gonna be quite boring, so I should normally I'd get like a like something like Subway Surfers in the bottom left, but I couldn't figure, I didn't have the willpower to figure that out, so you'll just have to watch my cursor. Let me pull up a different design document as well, just so I can have something as a reference for what I've done in the past. If I can find it. Alright, here we go. Here's it. Player will, I guess rather than a card battle, we can say it's a deck builder. building. In terms of it being roguelike versus story-based, that's one of the things that I was thinking about, and one of the kind of like the big overarching questions that I'll need to answer for this game, because both of them have their upsides and downsides. In terms of being a roguelike, that would give me a bit of an easier time with the game design, because there's precedent for how these sort of things work through Spire. But also the market's very saturated, and so it might just like not have a audience. I was thinking about having some sort of like hybrid system. Like there's this roguelike game, I forget what it's called. Let's see if I can find it. Did I put on my Steam wishlist? I don't think I did. Oh, how foolish of me. But basically you would have, it was a roguelike game, but it had like an overarching story to it. Like you'd have, when you died, you'd go and have like similar events, and it would like be telling the story about you trying to kill this person. But yeah, that's like a possibility. But for this game, if it does end up being developed, because it's not a guarantee that it will, it's not going to be very glamorous, because my dev team currently consists of a writer, a musician, and myself on design, which means we're lacking a programmer, which is pretty vital to making games. And I can program a little bit, but not very well, and so it would be quite an undertaking to figure that out. Also, we don't have an artist, but that's easier to solve since I can commission people more easily. But yeah, there's that. And for the stream, I'm not sure how long it's gonna be. Maybe just like a couple hours, maybe less, maybe more. I'm just gonna go until I feel like it's about time to stop. So yeah, user coders to be blind. The engine will probably be Godot. Just because it has the simplest workflow. I have some experience in Unreal Engine, specifically using blueprints from my first game, Asphyxiation, right, released now on Steam. But Unreal Engine doesn't really have the... It's not like what I'm going for, because that's mostly for 3D games. And while you can do 2D games in it, it's probably not worth the headache, as opposed to learning Godot, which apparently is pretty easy. And also there's a tutorial on YouTube for a card game in Godot, which I'll probably be following. But yeah. Then paint. Let's see. Let's Alright, what is that? Text window is window capture. That's source. this, and I can rename this to paint window and change its source to something, maybe to this. What does this look like? If I draw nothing, okay, it looks like nothing, so we can just hide that. All right, we'll figure it out, I guess. This. Okay. Let's go, and need this up here. Again, we'll find in medium length sessions of around an hour. The player will be able to play as long as they like it to be interruptions. Oh, 2 hours. Okay. Scope. Can I do the scope? No. Let's look on gameplay. Let's go and grab this. Just take a screenshot of it. Actually, I can do something interesting if I change this into, let's remove that. Let's do something a little bit scary. Let's add this. Yes. Okay, sure. And so now everything on this window will be shared, and if I accidentally show you something that you're not supposed to see, then whatever. I'll live with it, I guess. Three, 4, 5, 6. No. Let's. How did I do this initially? I'll just copy this. Move this here, and then copy this color. Full tolerance. Okay. And so now we'll have red 1, 2, 3, no, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so now we can copy this. Hide the display capture. Okay, here mockup 1, and then we'll have all the numbered things here. player 2, your dice cube, player, mana, player static effects, player hands, enemy dice cube, enemy static effects. Sure. Alright. Now where to start? I guess we can start with this. Nope, don't open that. Cards. Yes, here you can have an overview. Cards. Mana. Player. Player. Dice cube. Let's do cards before dice cube. Mana. Enemies. Here we'll have static effects. Alright. Cards. For the main play. The player will interact with enemies using a card. I should also have anatomy of a card. Anatomy of a card. Which means I need to make a card mock-up, which means my display capture comes back, and I make a new thing. No, not that one, this one. Let's go to Tipreth and grab a random card. What card has cool art? Let's use sure, let's use this. Render, generate. Okay. So we'll take this card and we'll modify it a little bit. This. Can get rid of the name. Okay, I have a washed up grade 9 fixer and an AI clanker made by someone. Maybe. I don't know what I'm gonna be doing for the world right now. It's just a big question mark. And so I'm trying to figure it out. I have a few basic ideas because the obvious thing would be, or not obvious per se, but like the simplest thing would be some sort of like fantasy situation. But with fantasy, you kind of have a lot of saturation. Because Slay the Spire is pretty fantasy. Dead Cells is another example, is fantasy. And also just like in general, games are usually fantasy, like medieval fantasy, low fantasy, or whatever it's called. Yeah. In terms of me making a unique story, I don't have very amazing creative, how to say, I'm not very good at writing stories. I think my stories are dull and uninspired. But I would have a say on it. It would be basically, I'd have like a basic concept, and then my writer would be like, this sucks, let's do something like this instead, which would be like based on my initial concept. But that's kind of what I'm thinking about right now, alongside with the question of story-based, like Library of Ruina versus roguelike like Slay the Spire. This question about what the world and overarching narrative is going to be is one of the other big questions that needs to get answered. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it. But for now, I'm gonna focus on getting like the basic mechanics explained, and then we can start thinking about the story. I have a couple ideas, but I don't know how good any of them are. All right. So next we can take this and write over this. Let's make a new layer just in case. One second. Let me grab a blue card that doesn't have a on-use effect. Sure, that's good enough. And I can just turn this into that, and then just paint over this section. Pencil tool. Here. Okay. Now we have the basis for a page. Let's save this. Oh, actually, hold on, that might bring up something weird. Let's briefly hide this, make sure. Okay, nothing too strange. Mostly blank page. Okay. Let's bring this back. I didn't get rid of the mana cost. That's fine. We can leave it at 3 for now. So we need text. Let's use my 35. Actually, we should make this a new layer. And then we take this and rotate it. And then the technique that I use for this, 0, this, Control I, copy this, paste, bring this here, and fill it in white. And then like this. There. That doesn't look awful. Okay. Actually, I'm gonna get rid of the dice too. This. This. And then here I'll just paint over it. Alright. Get rid of these edges. Okay. And now we can add our text. Let's merge these layers, name it page name. Hello, Mana. Right now I am working on creating a couple of pages to use as examples for the design. Can I do Myongest in this game? I'm hoping to be able to do something similar-ish in that you'll always be able to do something super strong. For example, so having this sort of image as a example, we can see the enemy has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dice. And so that's a lot of dice. And so, for example, you could have stuff to match all of their dice. Or one thing I was thinking was having a sort of singular strike-esque build, where you'd have one powerful die, like a Violet Blade type thing that's affected by power more. And then you'd have pages that say something like, choose one, add 1 power to all your dice, or add 10 power to your first dice, and then you'd try and one-shot enemies. Stuff like that. I want to have a good amount of build diversity in here. Nope, not that. This. Page name, background, base. I can delete this, so this. Okay. I'm gonna delete the mana cost after all. How will I manage this? I think no matter what, it's gonna look kind of ugly. So we'll just have to accept that as a fact. Let's magic wands tool. This. And I can do this. Let's take this darker blue actually, and kind of just say it is what it is, and get rid of this design. Okay. Not exactly my best work, but whatever. Wow. Sure. Maybe learn this here, copy the enemy's dice. Lore theme. Right now, I don't really have anything. So if you look at the design document, there's very, very little, and nothing for the world, because that's still like an unknown. Basically, right now, the two questions that I need to answer for myself are, first, what is the theme of the game, and second, am I doing a story-driven game like Library of Ruina or a roguelike such as like Slay the Spire? Should make a card called Black Flash that stuns all the enemies for an entire turn. Studying as a mechanic. Defense style. Stunning, I'm not sure. I'm not sure of basically any of the mechanics, or like the in-depth mechanics. It makes me a little sad to look at it, but whatever, we can. Let's, I don't know, do something like this, and then let's not, let's do fragment blur. And then we can do this. Sure, that adds a tiny bit of depth to it, but not really. Visual design stream. Yeah, it's mostly just gonna be game design stuff, like kind of just figuring out what I am doing. I'll have some stuff like this as guides, not guides, how to say, I guess illustrations to show, to better explain some mechanics. To that end, let's do this. Does this do what I want? It does. Awesome. Sure, let's do something like this. Can move this down. Oh, this is Let's do make this 28, and then we can make this smaller. Let's redo it. Do you have any ideas for what the setting is gonna be? I think based on stage play. For now, no. I'm focusing on the core mechanics first. But I do have some thoughts for what I want the world to be. But I can worry about like names and art and stuff like that once I have a bit more concrete of an idea. And of course the card designs as well will probably change as the design progresses. But I just need some things to illustrate what I'm thinking. This looks... yeah. This looks so ugly. This. Paint it black. Then let's redo this. I'm stupid. There we go, sure, whatever. Oh my god, I'm so stupid. Ah! Are all cards the same type or different, like dice cards and utility cards? Yeah, I'm gonna have different things. So some will be dice, some will be utility, some will have both. I'm obsessed with visuals. Any the amount of cards in hand / how's deck gonna be recycled? For now, I'm not sure. I'm gonna have a limit on cards in hand. In terms of how it's gonna get recycled, I'm not entirely certain. Right now, the two things that come to mind are, or three things I suppose, are first, you can have it like Slay to Spire, where cards that you play will go into your discard pile, and then once you can't draw any more cards and try to draw a card, instead you shuffle your discard pile, and then that becomes your draw pile, and then you draw. The second option is when you play a card, it goes to the bottom of your deck. And then the third option is when you play a card, it gets shuffled into your deck. And all of them have different upsides and downsides, but I think how I do it will depend on what sort of game I want to make, in a sense. Go ahead. Hopefully I'll be able to make something worth your time then. Right now I'm not too hopeful, but we'll see what happens in the future. This will probably be at the very least like a year, if not multiple years away. That's like if we end up pursuing this project. Yeah, this doesn't. Let's just make this bigger. And then rotate it a little. For fun. Sure. What do I think about this? This is acceptable, I think. I think I can save this, keep this, and then this. Oh, I need to this can be text. This Arial to differentiate it. This. Nope. Let's make this a little bigger. 64. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nope. And then we can do this. Okay. Yeah. The big issue, or maybe not the big issue, but one such issue for this game is, again, the lack of a programmer is real bad. Just trying to say your guys for Ruina are amazing. You saved my life. Hey, thank you. You know, my hope is that I'm able to help people. My guides, some of them I think I made some mistakes, but as long as you can, yeah. Gotta go Thanksgiving, but if you need help with anything, feel free to hit me up. God, you think I'd forget about you, B-san? Yeah, the big thing I need is a programmer, so if you know anyone who's willing to do unpaid programming work for like a year, you know, hit me up with that. This and this. Okay, so now actually let's go and grab a seconds card. We can add this to here for fun. Need something that like is like depends on what language. Whatever the programmer is comfortable with. I'm currently planning on using Godot if I were to do it myself, just because you know, I'm not a highly skilled programmer, so. Don't worry about programming. I worry about programming. I saw it saying, yeah. I made a game in RenPy as well recently, like from September to October for a game jam. But yeah, used Unity in university and made a bad game. All right, I'll keep that in mind, James, if I end up needing it. It's bad. Flashing Strike, I like the art of, so let's do this. Render, generate, copy, display capture on. Let's make a new thing. We can lasso tool the art. Copy, delete, paste. Cool. Let's actually not delete. Paste. Save. Because we might need the dice later. this, this. Paste the dice again. This page text we can clear. The guide text we can keep for now. The page name we can clear. This. And then black. And what did I use? Like 54? Yeah, lower, smaller. Way smaller. 28. 32. 35. 34. Sure, let's do 34. Okay. Copy, paste. Make it white. Then something like that. Get rid of the evade. Then we have our 2/. Move this down. And get rid of this part. Like this. Sure, good enough. Four of 10 Nia ripoff. Nia. I'm unfamiliar with that game. Whatever, I don't know. This. Ruina at 4 out of 10. I mean, I'm not going for a Library of Ruina game anyways, so that doesn't particularly affect me. So I'm not too worried about that. And besides, I'm not at the stage where I'm making games to sell particularly. Game dev is a long road. Excuse me. And if you're making games for the express purpose of like trying to sell them, then you're setting yourself up for disappointment. You should make games because you want to play them. And I think I would want to play the game that I'm making here. But whatevs. Hard to say. Why is there like random... There's dust on my cards. This is on the wrong layer, but whatever. Can move this down. Move the guide text over. Page text. White. Deselect. Need some sort of effect here. That would be cool. I know. If add. Let's make add a different color. Like a darkish purple. Like this. And then we could do 28 white if have an even number of dice, all dice gain 2 power 24. Sure. Can move this. And we can keep 3 to 7, 3 to 6, just because I don't really want to adjust it. Page mana cost will delete and replace it with a 2. Well, I do like 64. I manually adjusted the size after, so that's this is mana cost. Slightly rotate it. Sure, this does not look awful. Oh god. $64, correct? It is, okay. 5. I guess we could get 6. And then I should probably make one for what it would look like when it's in the player's hands. Which we'll start with this. Okay. Yeah, I guess I could just save that. Da, 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 da. Oh, I know what I should do. Let's copy this. And then we can oh, I didn't. Oops. Page text. Let's actually grab the color this time. And then here we can. Cool. This is as small as it gets, huh? I guess I can just cancel this and then manually make it smaller. Sure. It's goofy. This, and then here I can do that. Sure, that works. Yeah, I don't hate that, I guess. I guess I could also put a 7. Oh my god, 6, 7! It's so funny and humorous. This. The star is going to denote additional effects. So I have this purple star here, which is gonna show that there's this purple add text, which will add a static effect to your character for the turn. That's kind of like what I'm thinking right now, because the page, when it's in the player's hands, will look like this. Like that. So I can delete. Oh no! Ah, so the text is not where it's supposed to be. That's fine, since I'm getting rid of this anyways. Page text, layer 6. Can get rid of this, can get rid of the page text. And then on the base, I do this from the top. We can start with this and then clean it up if we need. That looks acceptable. And so now we'll go back to the guide text. This will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like this. Copy. Undo. And Control Shift S to change page. In hand, mostly blank page, something like that. And then we can just open both of these. Perfect. One, page mana cost. 2, page name, page art, or page dice. Oops. And then page, I guess we can get rid of, you can just say mana cost, name, art, dice count, or just dice, and then effects reminder, dice reminder. And then here, mana cost, name, art, effects, dice, dice reminder, effects reminder. will your game have a good, cool story and backgrounds? Gosh, I sure hope so. But we'll see. We'll have to see. Cause I'm but a feeble designer. So can't make promises. Yeah, so there's this, and then I will go into more depth as to what it would be. Heading 3 in hand. Heading 3 expanded. Sure, this looks about right. The player. And then we can do mana cost, card name, and effect. Card effects. Card dice. Page. Or cards. And we can have a link to cards. And then we can have dice queue, link to dice queue, and dice queue, link to dice queue. Player links to player. Dice queue links to dice queue. Sure, this can link to static effects. Then enemy can link to enemies, and that'll work. All right. Let's see what to do. And how much the players and resource it'll take to play the page. Nope, play the page. The card's dice will be added to the player's dice queue upon the card. Card effects. Effects will be added to the player's static effects upon using the card. The timing restriction. The timing of the effect will be dependent on the timing. Is that right? The length, perhaps, will be dependent on the type of effect it is. This is dependent with an E. For example, the purple and modifier will last for the current turn and go away, while the gold modifier lasts for the rest of the fight. Sure, we can put that in for now. We will be able to move and to adjust the positions with dice. But let's just do it like this. Only start. Can you unplay a card? I'm thinking I'll probably have a system to do that. But yeah, I'll figure something out. Either a way to unplay it, or the ability to move around the cards that you have played so that they can go in a certain order. But I'm not entirely sure how I'm gonna do that right now. Let me start. Pages first. It's used. Let's add it to do here. Here and add to mod. Player. Okay. Because I definitely don't want them to be able to shuffle the dice around individually, because then like I wouldn't want them to be able to move this 3 to 6 slash before the 3 to 7 slash, or like in between different pages sort of thing. But I'll figure something out. Excuse me. But the card. Yeah, that's something. I was thinking maybe here, like you'd have your dice queue, so you'd have this. You'd have this, and then you could have like line. You'd have like lines like this, something like this, and then like having the having the pages like this, kind of, or even maybe like, yeah, like this kind of thing. And then if you would hover over it, then it would like kind of get bigger, kind of like a mini hand. But yeah, that's something to figure out as like a tier 2 question, I'll say, or whatever. Yeah. Dice queue. Heart. That's the player. Let's do dice lowercase. Be sent out in sequence from top to bottom to flash. Flashing. With the enemies, dice queue. Dice queue from top to bottom. Okay. Idea: a card similar to Stigmatize, because that card's concept is kind of cool. Stigmatized 3 to 7. So this is to me this is a secondary resource page. So game maybe something similar to Pluto. This okay, has an art style somewhat reminiscent of it. Yeah, I could kind of see something like this. You have your health, and then you have your spells, and your spells have effects. Your cards, I suppose, and then you have the enemy. On your way to your niece's birthday party. Oh, there's a demo. Okay, that's interesting. I'll have to check that out after this and see. They take slots in your fingers, so order of spells matters. Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And then the issue with having a stigmatized style effect of a secondary resource card is that as of right now there isn't a secondary resource, there's only primary resources. Okay. Sorry, it's a tertiary resource card, and I only have primary and secondary resources. So primary resources in Library of Ruina are health and stagger, and then secondary resources are cards and light, and then tertiary resources are things like emotion level. Yeah, I guess emotion level really is the only tertiary resource. But maybe if there's like some sort of level up effect. If there's a level up sort of effect in battles, then there'll definitely be cards that affects that, because it would be a crime to not use that system. These player adds to their dice. You add a die. You add die. Okay. So at the bottom, if the one combatant runs out of dice, the remaining dice of the other combatant will... So we have a couple options here. We can free hit, we can store, combination, question mark, wasted, question mark. Dice types. Because initially I was thinking it would just be kind of like Library of Ruina, where your remaining dice would free hit the enemy. But thinking about it right now, you could potentially have some interesting things with if the dice get stored and then carried over to your next turn, because then you could have a strategy where you mitigate all of the enemy's dice, and then you can kind of like store extra dice for later. And then you could have like turns where it's like you kind of like quote unquote storm off, like in Magic, where you have a couple turns where you is that interesting actually, or is that just dumb? Alright, I think I've talked myself out of it. I'll will attack as if the enemy has a 0 die in that slot. Yeah. Alright. There's types. Two primary types of dice, each having multiple subclasses. This will be heading 5. Offensive dice. Defensive dice. So for example, we can do heading 6. Simple offensive. And then you could have like we can throw out some like weird names. Yeah. Like this. Will deal damage equal to the roll upon winning a clash. One offensive dice will. Offensive dice will. Brutal offensive dice will deal damage equal to 2x the roll upon winning a clash. Deal 3x roll upon winning a clash to enemy and 1x per roll to the player. Something like this. Equal to 1x to the enemy. The enemy will deal damage equal to 1x the roll on winning. Let's switch this vampiric. Additionally, the player will restore health equal to 0.5 per roll. A clash. All right. So simple defensive dice will lower the damage to 3. This is in the player subsection. This is in the cards subsection. Which is this is in the card dice subsection, which does refer specifically to the player, but no. The user to the user. Let's change this to opponent. Regardless of clash result. fully reduced. Additional power is wasted. Reflective. Defensive dice will lower the damage dealt to the user by 1 extra roll, regardless of flash result. If the damage is fully reduced, additional power is converted into health 1 at a 1-to-1 rate. For example, if a simple defensive dice rolls not an 8 against a simple offensive dice 5, the damage is reduced to 0, and the result would be this. Defensive die rolled a 6, 8, 1000. For example, if a start PvP version could be wild. Yeah, the issue with PvP in these sorts of games is and same thing with Library of Ruina is player priority, where the person who gets to decide the clashes is at a significant advantage. And so you'd have to take turns with it, but that would still feel kind of bad. And also multiplayer is hard to code. Let's suppose an 8 against a simple offensive dice 5. The damage is reduced to 0, and the user restores 3 health. Reflective defensive dice will lower the damage dealt to the user by 1 extra roll, regardless of flash result. If the damage is fully reduced, additional power is reflected to the opponent at a 2-to-1 rate. For example, 2-to-1 rate rounded up. For example, if a reflective die rolls an 8 against a simple offensive dice 5, the damage is reduced to 0, and the opponent takes 2 damage. Yeah, plays dice are at the same time, just the opponent's hand. Let's play the pain. Yeah, it's an ordeal, I'll say. Alright, so these are all like random, not reflective of any future plans, but just to kind of illustrate that there's multiple dice types. Then it comes to SQ mana. I did have a system that I wanted to implement So let's do something here. Well, we can write it down first, and then we can figure something out. We'll have a mana pool of that gets added to every turn. Additionally, oops, there are, let's start with 3 special types of mana that the player can't get naturally. Let's say body, mind, and soul. Because yeah, that's pretty common. Most pages, or let's say many pages, can be passed without using any special mana, but particularly powerful ones will require using some number of this special mana, which will be denoted by the symbol next to the mana. And so, for example, we could have like a yeah. Wow, that actually looks pretty good. We could have something like a fist for body. It would have to be pretty big. Also, it just needs another knuckle. Okay, let's remake this but bigger. That looks weird. Why does that look weird? I don't know. So we have like I guess we do this. Page typing. So you need colored mana? Yeah, pretty much. That's kind of like a system I was thinking about because interestingly enough, partially because of Riftbound, because they made a colored mana system very similar to this, because the way of doing it, like in Hearthstone and in Legends of Runeterra, is kind of boring, and having a secondary mana system is it provides more interest. Welcome back. Disomancer. Disomancer. Oops. Let's look at Disomancer real quick. Yeah. Something kind of like that. Wait a minute, I'm looking for this. Alright. Alright. I'm gonna take a quick break to go get some more water and stuff. And so while that is happening, I will provide some enrichment, so to speak. If I can find my enrichment. I'm looking very hard. Sure. Text. Come on, Streamlabs. You can do it. Nope. This. No. Come on, this. Increase size. And then we can add this. All right, I'll be right back. Let's mute the mic as well, just in case. All right, so let's get this back on track. Where was I? Here. Okay. Static effects. Static. Are given the player given to characters with various means. Many enemies will have some innate. The player will need to apply them through cards or give me another name for relic. Fables. Their plans for character abilities. Uncertain. It'll depend on what I'm gonna be doing for the game as a whole, because Spire, of course, has 4 characters. Each of them has their own unique sets of pages with their own mechanics and their own unique relics. For me, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to be doing with that. I do plan on having a system similar to Spire relics, where you can get static effects based on like killing certain enemies, or like just innately you'll have some. But I don't know if I'm gonna have like different characters. So yeah. What to do here? Yes, I should have. Heading 3. Do you have a name in mind for the game? I do not. I will have a name based on like what I'm doing with the setting and stuff. And since I don't have a setting, there's no way I could have a name. Common effects. I can make a table here, I guess. This one, mana per turn. This one card drawn per turn. That's good. Seriously, please let me know. Certainly. If the development for this game does occur, I plan on making devlogs to post to this channel. This is kind of like the pilot for that, I suppose, to generate some amount of hype and like kind of gauge interest as well. But yeah, hopefully have a great rest of your day. I'll probably stream for like maybe another hour, maybe a bit longer, maybe a bit less. But yeah. can be given through pages or variables, or even other static effects. So rather than velocity, well, we don't need to think of names for now. Right, so these are just the basic things. First stack, and like +1. I guess we can get rid of the per stack thing. Just delete it. Generating. Man, do I want to call these statics, or do I want to have something else, a separate system for statuses? That's something to think about. Statuses? Question mark. What are you? You're heading 2, so you will be heading 3. Alright, so we'll figure something out there. What is this? Right. Clashing when the player begins combat, they'll engage in a series of clashes. Clashes are going to place to opposing dice roll to roll with the larger number winning the clash. All right. Mm-mm-mm. X are set of equal have Hmm. Thinking. Driven by various fables. Um, These effects last an entire fight are often one of the strongest effects, or at least the ones of the player will be further left. Nice. Gain one passion each dice. Gain your dice queue. Hmm. Eek. Die. Nice. Eek. Much better. Something like that. 7 pages already, huh? Maybe I can convert that into a separate document. Constraint is a pack of experienced individual experienced workers. Finding an art team. Do this project success. Standards. Design trade. Why does this feel strange? Shouldn't be. Okay, whatever. Should sleep soon too. Ruina, hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Hey, thank you. I hope you have a good night. Building. Issue location. Need to learn art to master. Sure. We can come back to that later. If you win clash, Alright. Nope. Heading 3. Heading 4. Health. Ruina. Hand size. Health, mana, hand size, and what else? Is that all we need for now? Yes. Okay. All right. What are you? Oops. Heading 2. So it should be heading 3. Okay. Continue. Offensive days clutch. The winner will completely mitigate the loser. And you figures. And vigorous. Effects. We can just keep this as effects for now. We'll see. Instant die. When an offensive die beats another offensive die, the user's dice is completely nullified. Beats a defensive die. The defensive die's effect. Defensive die will still apply the damage reduction where applicable. This still triggers and on. Let's see. If there's a tie, then both pages will deal damage, triggering an effect, but not clash with effects. At the time, damage is fully mitigated. Therefore, one hit when flash flood effects do not trigger. When a defensive die beats an offensive die, the offensive die is completely nullified. This triggers dash and undefend effects. If there is a tie, it is still fully mitigated, triggering undefend effects, but not clash with effects. When a defensive die beats another defensive die, what happens? What do I want to have happen here? Thinking. This. Not trigger any effects. And after the results of the dice. Sure. Alright. Is there anything else that I want to do before we finish it off? Do I want to? No, I think this is a pretty good start. Yeah. Let's just add a new version. 1.01. November 27th. Added. Alrighty. That's going to just about do it then. And thank you everyone for showing up, for everyone who did. Hopefully this was entertaining, enlightening, inspiring, and other ing words for you. hope you had fun, and yeah, hopefully I'll be able to post videos about this game and its development for you to enjoy. So yeah, hopefully that will interest you, and I'll see you next time I see you, I guess. Alright, thank you for watching.